Welcome to Office 2013 class video number 51. Hey, this is our last video for our Office class. We're going to talk about mail merge. You want to download the Excel workbook with grade information, the Access file with grade information, which is a zip file. You have to unzip it, and then our letter to students. That's a Word document. And we're going to do mail merge to connect a Word document to a database, either in Excel or Access. All right, here's Windows Explorer. Here's the files. This is our system of folders and our class notes for mail merge. I'm first going to open up mail merge Excel file and take a look. We have a grade table here. Here's Joe and Joe's scores, total and percentage. Here's Phil, the grades, the total and percentage. Now notice this is a proper data set. It has field names at the top, name, email, score 1, score 2, percentage grade, and then records in each row. Now this is an unusual table in that the first record is showing us the maximum possible points. But the rest of these are regular records that we would see in a proper data set. And here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to send each student a letter that shows them their scores and their grade. So if we count, there would be 6 different letters. But I don't want to have to type each one of those letters out. Now let's go open up our Word document, letter to students. And here's the amazing thing about mail merge. We can tell this single letter, this is only one letter, we typed it only once, but we can tell this letter to go look at this proper data set or a database, take each one of the records, and for each record print out a single letter. All right, let's start over in Word. Here's how you do it. In essence, we're going to put our cursor, and let me zoom in on this. Right there, it should say Dear Student Name. So right there, I'm going to say, hey, that spot in Word, please go look at the name field over in that grade table. Then I'm going to click here and say, hey, right in that spot in the Word document, go and look at Score 1. Once we connect the letter to each one of the fields over there in that Excel table, we can click the print button or the merge button, and it will print out an individual letter for each one of the records, even though there's only one letter here. Now, before we do our mail merge, I want to do 2 things. The first is I want to go back over to our Excel file and close it. We do not want to have this open. This is our record source, our proper data set. So I'm going to close that. And the second thing is I want to save this. Right now it says letter to students. I want to hit F12, save as. And at the very beginning, I'm going to say Excel number 1 dash. So Excel number 1, because we're going to do 2 mail merges in Excel and then 1 from Access. Letter to students. And click Save. All right, now, what do we have to do? Since we want this letter to be communicating with those fields, the first thing is we come up to Mailings and over to Select Recipients. This button, when I click it, I click Use an Existing List, and I can connect the letter to some database. All right, I'm going to go down to our class notes for mail merge. And there is our mail merge class notes. And I'm going to double click this Excel file. Instantly, mail merge looks inside and sees the sheets. I select the one I want. Now, when you're setting your data up in Excel, you have to be sure it's a proper data set and nothing else is in any of the cells, which is exactly what we had in our Excel workbook. I'm going to click OK to accepting that sheet as our table. All right, now we can go click Edit Recipient List and look through. There's the name, there's the email, score 1, score 2. All the way over to our grade. So these are the fields. So now Word is looking over into that table. Now, there is a problem with numbers in mail merge. You could see there's a bunch of extraneous decimals. And here's the crazy thing. Even though these extraneous decimals are not actually in the cells over there, Word interprets them this way. So we're going to have to fix that. And there's 2 different ways we'll fix that. All right, but for this step, we just see, yes, we're connected to that table. Click OK. Now, we need to tell each part of our document here to look to the correct field. So here's how you do it. After, and let me zoom in here. Dear space comma. Now I come up to Insert Merged Field. I click on the dropdown. And what's this called? We saw it in pivot tables. We saw it in Access. We saw it in the relationship window, in queries in Access, right? It's a field list. I need to say, hey, name field, boom. I click on it, and there's the code. Now, when you click on this, it's gray. We've seen this gray, which means there's some code here. This is called a field. We saw it earlier in the class when we did table of contents and a few other instances. Now, there's the name field. Let's come down here. For score 1, it says colon and then that space. Notice how our non-printing characters are helping here. After the space, I'm going to come up and insert score 1. There's the field code that connects this Word document to score 1 field over in our Excel file. All right, so I click by score 2, score 2, score 3, score 3. I scroll down for the total. And then finally the grade. Now we will have a problem here that we'll have to fix, but you can see that each one of these is a field. Now let's just go ahead and see what would happen if we tried to finish this. Preview. And there we can go through, well, maxes are all fine, but once we use our arrows up here to go to the next one, oh, there's our extraneous decimals. Now we want to remind ourselves, we learned earlier in the class how to go and view the code. The keyboard is Alt F9. So I hold Alt down and F9, and no way. Merge field score 1, merge field score 2, merge field total. Alt F9 is a toggle. I'm hitting Alt F9, Alt F9. It's a toggle. Here we see the result of looking over to the fields. Alt F9. Here we see the secret code behind the scene. Now notice something, Alt F9. This date up here is also a field, Alt F9. You can see this field will update every time we open this with a new date. So we're seeing mail merge fields. We've seen a date field. We've seen table of contents and a few other things earlier in the class. Fields means there's something secret going on, some code behind the scenes. So Alt F9 is a toggle. Now, we're going to need to fix this, and here's how we do it. Now, how do you remember how to do this? Because most of us don't have to do mail merge. What I do is every time I forget the code, I go over and open up Google, and pretty much if you type mail merge number and something like format, it's a known problem that's been around forever. So then you click on it and you can go and read. Down here it says there's the switch, this \# space and then some code after. Now you got to be careful. The code is a little bit different in earlier versions, so you're going to have to be version specific. All right, so I'm going to close this. That's how I remember. I just go to Google. But here's the code. You have to click at the end, and you can see the cursor after the space, #, and then to round it to 2 decimals, say 0.00. Now let's just toggle Alt F9 and see if that one worked. It didn't, but we can go back one and then forward one, and no way. Look at that. So I actually used that to go back and then come back to forward, and then it enacted the code. All right, you ready? Alt F9 to toggle. And I'm going to copy this. Just that little thing is the code you have to add to the merge field behind the scenes. Control C, and then I'm going to click my cursor, Control V. Very carefully, make sure your cursor is flashing right there. Control V, Control V. Now, let's just go look. Now, Alt F9, back one, forward one. All right, well, you can see it's working for everything, but not the percentage grade. We're going to have to do something even more complicated. And again, this is in the notes for the class, and it's in the description below in the video. Alt F9. All right, check this out. We're actually going to have to take this whole merge field, because remember, percentage is really a decimal underneath, formatted in Excel to show percentage. It was a number format over in Excel. Well, guess what? We're going to have to actually take that decimal, which is what is being brought over from Excel, multiply it by 100, and then add a format similar to this. All right, you ready? We're actually going to have to add 2 fields together. So you highlight the whole field, and now you have to use your special your second keyboard, Ctrl F9. Ctrl F9 adds another field in essence. And watch this. We're going to have to come to the beginning of this little bit right here and type an equal sign. And then at the end, we have to go times 100. Right? So we had to take that merged field from over in the Excel workbook, multiply it by 100. And then this second field here is what we're going to do to add the formatting. I'm going to Control V. But right now, that would just show us without a percentage symbol. You come to the end and you add a percentage symbol. Right? So we actually had to take the field equal sign, merge field grade times 100, space, and then this is called a switch, and then that's the custom number formatting. Actually, this custom number formatting is similar to how we do it in Excel. In Business 216 computer application class, we talked a little bit about a lot about number formatting. When we go and study in spreadsheet construction, Business 214 or Business 217, or the Highline Excel class at YouTube, we'll talk a lot about custom number formatting. But this actual little bit right here is exactly what you'd use in Excel. It's just over in Word when we're doing mail merge, we have to do it in this merged field code behind the scene. All right, let's Alt F9 to get out of that code. And then back one and forward one, and boom, there we go. Now as we go forward, each student has their letter. Now to finish this, and I'm going to Control S, you simply go to Finish and Merge. If you were going to send an email, which we are not, you have to have Outlook on your computer. But let's just click this and see what happens. It's polite because we had a field called email over in our database. Ours happened to be in Excel. It put that here. That means this part of the mail merge is looking over to the Excel file in the email column or the email field. Now we type something like Business 216 grades or something like that. So we can add the subject line that will show up in every one of these emails. Mail format, you can choose what you want there. There's an attachment if you want that. And then all current record, or you can go from one to another. So this is another way to exclude records. Earlier we saw how we could select from edit recipients and uncheck if we didn't want some. But you have some control over which records get sent. Now we're actually not going to send this. I'm going to click Cancel. All right, Control S. Now I want to close this and I want to do this again, but I want to show you a second different way. Instead of having to mess with that code, we can actually fix the numbers over in Excel. All right, I'm going to close this Word document, go over to Windows Explorer, open up Letter to Students. I'm immediately going to hit F12 and watch this. I'm going to show you a really dangerous trick. It says Letters to Students. Usually if I click on this, whoa, look what it does. It puts the name in. And I love this trick because anytime I have lots of the same files, but I just want to change part of it when I'm doing Save As, if I clicked Save right now, it would ask me if I want to replace it. But because I want the same name, but I just want to change one of the numbers, I just change the number. Right? So in essence, when I clicked here, and I'll even do it again right now, it steals the name from that file, puts it here, and then you can change it just slightly. All right, and click Save. Now let's do Mail Merge. Control S. We're actually going to save this file, and now we're going to go over and open Excel. And now what we'd like to do is right below, I'd like to create a table that uses what's called a text function. All right, so I'm going to copy the formatting. I'm going to use my paintbrush, and then I'm going to click right here. Now I want to give this a defined name that we'll use in Mail Merge. So I'm going to come up to the name box, and I'm going to call this something ridiculous long, Mail Merge Table Format Correct, Enter. Remember, we can go up to Formulas, Name Manager. Now we can see we have our defined name there. We'll use that. Notice if we had these two things here and did Mail Merge, it would be confused because there's extra data. But now that we use a defined name, we can use just that defined name, and it will pick up just those cells. All right, now the first thing is I would like to highlight all the cells, and in the active cell, I want to click equal sign, click on the name. Those are the field names and the max score. And remember from our study of Excel, if you have a formula and you want to populate it into all the highlighted cells, you use Ctrl Enter. Now for the rest of this, actually, we can do that here too. Active cell, equal sign, click on that one. Notice it corresponds perfectly to what we need down here, and that's a relative cell reference. So when I Control Enter, it enters all that in. It's all of this number data that's different. We're going to use a function called the text function. The text function is great because it will take a number and convert it to text. That way, when we send this table and this number data for each record over to mail merge, it's not a number, so it doesn't cause a problem. It's text. All right, so you ready? Comma, and you have to know the custom number format. Well, we already saw this a little bit. You have to put it in double quotes. 0.00, that's the custom number format that says show two decimals. End double quote, the format text argument. That format text right here, that's the part that tells the text function to take this number up here and format it and show it as text. That's the actual value. All right, you ready? Close parentheses. Control Enter. Now, notice from our study of Excel that alignment to the left means text. Alignment to the right, all these numbers, they're numbers. Now let's drag this down and over. Now we're going to have to amend this over here. So I'm going to highlight the whole range. And in the active cell, I'm going to hit F2. And I'm going to add that percentage symbol. Control Enter. Boom. There we have it. Now this table, Control S, this define name here. And we could test this. We could come up to our define name dropdown and click on that. Sure enough, that's working. Control S, that's what will show up when we do mail merge. Close this. Now let's go over to our Word document, and I want to connect mailings. Select recipients. Use an existing list. We'll scroll to our mail merge folder. I'm in my mail merge folder. I come over here and I double click. And now look at that. It has our defined name. That is so cool. So this part of the mail merge looks at defined names and sheets. Click OK. And now this is going to be a lot easier. Insert merged field. The name is never going to have a problem for us. Score 1. Now it's not because it's going to be text. I'm just putting the fields in. Scroll down a bit. Total. And when we insert this last one, now we go up to preview results. Preview results, it's looking good there. Click the forward arrow, and no problem. I like that way better than you having to mess with that code in Word. That is totally cool. Now, if you wanted to print, what do? You click on Merge and Print, and then it asks you, same thing as we saw with the email, all, current record, or from some point to some other point. Click Cancel. Control S. Now we want to do this one last time for access. All right, you ready? Come over to Letter to Students. Open it up. F12. I'm going to come to the beginning. Access. Letter to Students. Click Save. Now let's go over to Mailings and select Recipients. Use an existing list. We'll go to our Mail Merge Class Notes. And over here, Grades. We never opened this up, but the grades, the scores is the actual table. The grades is a query. So now I click OK. Now let's come up to Edit Recipients. And guess what? There's our database with our field names, and we have the same problem over here. Let's insert each one of our fields, name. So we've inserted each one of our fields, including decimal grade. We're going to run into the same problem. Preview results. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to unselect preview results, Alt F9. And we're going to have to do our switch and our code again. Backslash, pound sign, space 0.00. Now I'm going to copy this. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. I'm going to highlight this whole bit here. Ctrl F9, equal sign, times 100, arrow key right after that, space, Control V, and then add a percentage symbol. All right, so there is the code we had to add in Word, Alt F9, and there we go. Oh, I can see that I have one record, so record number 4 I don't want to print out. I'm going to go back up to Edit Recipient List. And on number 4, I'm going to click Uncheck Max, click OK. And so now that one is not there. And you could email or print this out. All right, so that's a little bit about mail merge. Now, in this example here, this was a student letter, but you absolutely could do mail merge if you had customers and you were sending some information to. You use the customer database with their names and addresses and emails and write your letter. Or you worked in the AR, Department of Accounts Receivable, and you needed to send out letters to customers who are paying late. The idea is the same. The same letter needs to go to lots of people. Use mail merge. All right, that was an amazing, fun class. In this class, we studied Windows Explorer, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Access, and even just looked at mail merge. Now, this class, Business 216, is the prerequisite for Business 214, which now will change to the number Business 217, which is an advanced Excel class. At Highline, it's called Spreadsheet Construction. At YouTube, it's the Highline Excel Class Series. So now if you want to learn a lot more about Excel, a lot of the concepts in this class, Business 216, and not just from Excel. There's things we learn in every one of the programs, concepts about computers, data, databases, formulas that we'll use in the Highline Excel class spreadsheet construction. All right, we'll see you next video and series.